in that by-election, which is why I'm here with the Labor member for Eden Monaro today.
Joel Fitzgibbon says voters don't trust your messaging on supporting the coal industry. Is that on you?
The biggest election commitment that the state coalition gave during this by-election was $200 million to not build a coal mine in the electorate of Upper Hunter, the Shenhua coal mine. Compensation. That was the biggest commitment that they gave in this election campaign.
Have you spoken to Joel Fitzgibbon about his comments? I mean, he said the loss for Labor is diabolical.
No.
Are you expecting Joel Fitzgibbon to contest the next election for Labor?
That's a matter for the people of the electorate of Hunter.
In a sentence, why should blue-collar workers vote Labor?
Because Labor represents the interests of blue-collar workers. It's only Labor that's been standing up for jobs. It's only Labor that's standing up for an increase in real wages. It's Labor that are out there campaigning for same job, same pay, and against casualisation, against labour hire companies abusing the rights of working people to drive down wages and conditions. It's Labor that's doing that. What's the coalition doing? They're currently joined in an action before the High Court, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money to defend businesses' right to classify workers in coal mines, not as permanent workers, but as casuals, in order to limit what they get in terms of their pay and conditions. That's the great divide. Labor is standing up for permanent work. We're standing up for the rights of workers. We respect the work that working people do wherever they do it. And it is only Labor that are going to the election with a policy that will stand up for working people, that will address security at work. The Party of Work Choices is an anti-worker party. It's in their DNA, and at each and every opportunity, they stand up against the interests of working people.
How do you expect to win seats when your primary vote is as low as 20%?
Upper Hunter is a state by-election where the 20% is higher than we got a couple of elections ago, where the National Party got 54. And let me say this, if you want to allocate state results on federal seats, I'd ask you to have a look at Western Australia and have a look at Queensland. Because if you do that, you'll end up with a thumping majority of Labor people in the federal parliament. You'll end up with just about every seat in WA, maybe except for Curtin, they might fall across the line. We'd win every other seat across the state. And in terms of Queensland, we certainly would win double figures of seats in Queensland. And they are the resources sector seats.
This is a resource sector seat as well, and you suffered a big swing. What are the lessons for Labor?
In Muswellbrook, which is the area where coal miners live, we got, I think, an 8 or a 9% swing to Labor in Muswellbrook.
So you don't think you have a problem with coal voters voting for you?
No, I think that if you look at the seats and the results in state seats where there are mines like Rockhampton, Mackay, the seats throughout Queensland, you look at Gladstone, you look at those seats, outstanding results for the Labor Party. So let's get a bit of perspective here, quite frankly. This is a seat that Labor has not held in the last 9 decades at any time whatsoever. This is a seat whereby, frankly, a couple of elections ago, we would have struggled to find people to hand out how to vote in, where our vote was lower than it was on Saturday, and the National Party won on primaries. Perhaps a question for the National Party is, why has their primary vote fallen by 24%? It would have been impossible for Labor's primary vote to fall by 24% because we were only on 17 to begin with just a couple of elections ago.
Do you think opposing the gas plant hurt Labor in that by-election though, and are you prepared to change your position and support that?
We made that decision, which was the correct decision, based upon what every single expert in the energy sector says. We did that, and as I said, the biggest LNP commitment during this state election, a state election where I remind you the Berejiklian government have a policy of supporting renewables. They have a policy of net zero by 2050. They have a policy of paying compensation to not build a coal mine in the region, the Shenhua coal mine. That occurred just in recent times. So I think in terms of a step back, a little bit of perspective from people would be a good idea. But I say this, if Scott Morrison wants to argue that there are federal implications behind a by-election result in one seat in New South Wales, then he should apply that to Western Australia and to Queensland, which are the big two resource states in this country. The biggest two resource states in this country have seen Labor win seats in Queensland and become almost a one-party state in Western Australia. And my team will continue to work constructively, including with the resources sector. We have a full shadow ministry meeting scheduled for Port Hedland in the coming weeks. We'll continue to engage. We'll continue to stand up for working people and their rights at work. Unlike this government, which, as I said, is in court right now, spending hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars in order to undermine the wages and conditions that have been fought for a long period of time by those working people.
What are your thoughts on so-called vaccine passports to allow people to travel once they've been vaccinated? Do you think Australians should be able to travel domestically whether they've been vaccinated or not?
I think Scott Morrison will try anything to hide debate about his failure when it comes to the rollout of the vaccine. That's what I think. 1% of Australians have been fully vaccinated. They still haven't met the target of 4 million that they said would be vaccinated by the end of March. And when it comes to their messaging on vaccines, I mean, each and every day, it's only about, it's 10 past 10. So there'll be another announcement, I'm sure, and more messaging before 2 o'clock. But we've had Greg Hunt say, basically, don't worry because there's other mRNA vaccines coming. We've had others say the next day, oh no, you need to get vaccinated straight away. We have a Prime Minister who criticises state governments for having borders closed, but now wants passports for Australians to travel across state boundaries. What are you going to do? Have passport police set up between Tweed Heads and the Gold Coast? I mean, for goodness sake, Albury-Wodonga, you know, we'll have a little booth at the border crossing there of the Murray River. This is a government that comes up with thought bubbles. They've got two jobs: roll out the vaccine and fix up quarantine. On both of them, they have failed, and they've failed dismally.